Congratulations to everyone watching. And to those who lost loved ones in 2020, accept our condolences. It was quite a year, wasn't it? But best believe that you will be okay. Time heals. Now, this is our first edition for the year, and it's celebration galore. Carnivals by communities, display of command performances that made the National Arts Festival spellbinding, and projections for the new year by Nigerians are among the reports penciled down to keep you informed and entertained. But let's give attention to the news first. Reading tonight is Claire Adilabu Abdurazak. Hello, Claire. Happy New Year to you, lovely lady.
Happy New Year to you, Becky. Did you get our virus-free birthday hugs? I'm sure you did. Hello and welcome to Abuja, and wherever you are watching, I do hope you stay with us for the rest of Newsline tonight. Let's begin with the news. And the Presidential Task Force has placed travel restrictions on inbound travelers for refusing to show up at the testing centers and getting their COVID-19 statuses confirmed. In a tweet on Saturday, January the 2nd, the task force says it had placed travel restrictions on the affected passengers for failing to comply with COVID-19 travel guidelines, which mandates travelers to run the test 7 days after their arrival into the country. National coordinator of the Presidential Task Force, Sani Aliyu, had earlier declared that the affected passport holders will be suspended from traveling for a minimum of 6 months. He also affirmed that visas of foreigners who evade the mandatory test would also be revoked. Sani Aliyu further disclosed that the 100 affected persons have been contacted and confirmed to have failed to undergo the post-arrival safety protocol. And U.S. Vice President Mike Pence accepts Senators' bid to delay Biden's presidential election win, and in Egypt approves use of Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccine. For more on the global scene, let's join Uche Ugochukwu.
U.S. Vice President Mike Pence has welcomed an effort by a group of senators to refuse to certify Joe Biden's presidential election win. The 11 Republican senators and senators-elect, led by Ted Cruz, want a 10-day delay to audit unsubstantiated allegations of election fraud. The move is certain to fail, as most senators are expected to endorse Mr. Biden in the 6th January vote. On a sad note, Norwegian police said 5 bodies have now been found in the search for the missing following a massive landslide that destroyed homes in the country. 5 people remain missing as rescuers continue search for survivors. The death toll in an attack on villages in Niger's restive border regions has risen to more than 70. The country's interior minister said the attack took place in 2 villages near the border with Mali. At least 20 people were also wounded. Turning attention to the coronavirus pandemic, the positive infections have crossed 85 million, with death toll surpassing 1.8 million, as collated by the Coronavirus Resource Center at Johns Hopkins University at 6 p.m. Nigerian time. Nigeria now accounts for 89,163 confirmed cases, having recorded 576 new cases Saturday. Egypt, however, has granted regulatory approval for the use of a COVID-19 vaccine developed by Chinese Sinopharm, with the inoculation campaign expected to begin this January. Similarly, India has formally approved the emergency use of 2 coronavirus vaccines as it prepares for one of the world's biggest vaccination drives. The Drugs Regulatory Authority gave the green light to the jabs developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford University, and that by a local firm, Bharat Biotech. Prime Minister Narendra Modi called it a decisive turning point. Meanwhile, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has warned that regional restrictions in England are probably about to get tougher to curb rising COVID infections. He said stronger measures like keeping schools closed may be required in parts of the country in the coming weeks, and that ministers had to be realistic about the spread of the new variant of the virus. That's it from here. I am Uche Ugochukwu. Compliments of the season.
And back home, the Minister of Women Affairs, Paul Talon, has enjoined Nigerians, especially women, to be aware of COVID-19 and ensure they make efforts to flatten the curve by observing all laid down protocols to stay safe. In a message of gratitude to women and all Nigerians for their love and prayers for all who tested positive to COVID-19, including herself, Talon restated her commitment to uphold the mission of her ministry to serve as a national vehicle for the speedy and steady development of Nigerian women health-wise and in the mainstream national development, while also promoting the rights of vulnerable persons in the country. She prayed for a prosperous new year full of innovative exploits that will set the nation on a course of positive growth. Paul Talon has been declared COVID-19 negative by doctors following a second test. She rejoices to be part of 2021 celebrations, urging all to take responsibility. And President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the killing of 70 people in a border town between Niger Republic and Mali by militants, describing the incident as another clarion call for united action by African leaders against terrorism. In his reaction to the incident, the president says he was profoundly shocked by the large-scale death of innocent people in the hands of militants who have no regard for the sanctity of human life. He said terrorism has now become like a contagion of evil that can spread anytime if united action is not taken, explaining that instability in one part of Africa has implications for the security of others. President Buhari therefore expressed his deepest sympathy for the government, people of Niger, and families of the victims. And several persons have been killed in series of attacks and counterattacks by gunmen in Giwa local government area of Kaduna State. A statement by the State Commissioner of Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arwan, says the incident occurred at Kaya community, which shares common boundary with Hayin-Kaura village of Dandume local government area of Katsina State. It shows that violence began on January the 1st when armed bandits attacked Kaya town and kidnapped some locals, including 2 married women. The bandits, who were repelled by a combined team of volunteers from Kai and Hayin-Kaura village of Katsina State, regrouped on Saturday evening, wielding AK-47 rifles and launched another attack on Kaya town in Giwa local government, killing many of their victims and burning down property. Kaduna State Governor Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai, who was involved in coordinating responses to the attack on Saturday night, expressed concern over the incident and tasked security agencies to carry out extensive investigations into the circumstances leading to the killings. And in Borno, the state governor, Babagana Omara Zulum, has visited hunters receiving treatment at the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital for injuries sustained when they stepped on landmines planted by suspected Boko Haram terrorists along Sambisa Forest. Mohammed Goni reports that the governor proceeded to the hospital immediately on arrival from his official engagement in Abuja.
23 hunters were reportedly on patrol along the Sambisa forest after they were alerted that the insurgents have wrestled cattle from a nearby village when they marched on landmines planted on the route. 7 of the hunters were said to have died instantly, while 17 others sustained various degrees of injuries. Commissioner of Youth and Sport, Said Nabuba, informed Governor Zulum that 11 persons have so far been treated and discharged. Governor Bagana Umar, who sympathized with the hunters, charged the government officials to cater for the needs of the injured and ensure that they are well taken care of. In Maiduguri, Mohammed Goni, NTA News.
And the Directorate of Defense Media Operation DMO says the Air Task Force of Operation Lafayette Daule has destroyed more Boko Haram terrorist hideouts and eliminated several of their fighters at 2 locations, Kote Kaura and Bulama Ismari, both in Borno State. DMO Coordinator Major General John Eneche indicates that the air strikes were executed on January 2nd, 2021, employing Nigerian Air Force fighter aircraft based on credible intelligence reports indicating that the terrorists had recently established camps at both settlements for their logistics items and to plan and launch attacks. The NAV attack aircraft engaged schools of terrorists observed in the target areas, leading to the neutralization of several of them and destruction of structures and logistics stores, some of which were seen engulfed in flames at both locations. And the Nigeria Police Force has reaffirmed commitment towards ensuring safety of lives and property of citizens. Assistant Inspector General of Police Zone 1, Sadiq Bello, stated this during a meeting with Commissioners of Police in charge of Kano and Jigawa states. Sanatu Hassan Baura reports.
It is a known fact that insecurity is among the contemporary challenges that contributed to a major setback in Nigeria in the year 2020. The Northwest Zone is not an exception, as in Zone 1 alone, a number of suspects ranging from armed bandits, kidnappers, rapists and other criminals were arrested and brought to book. For these reasons and more, the Assistant Inspector General of Police Zone 1, Shehu Bello, calls for an emergency security meeting with the commissioners of Kano and Jigawa states, alongside other senior police officers, to brainstorm on the successes and challenges recorded in the year 2020 and measures to adopt in tackling the menace.
We have just rubbed minds here. We have been very frank with ourselves, and we exchange ideas. We want to assure Nigerians living within the Zone 1 Police Command that it's going to be a lot better 2021.
Commissioners of Kano and Jigawa applaud the public for their support, saying the community policing has contributed immensely in achieving the successes recorded.
We have structures on ground, and these structures has helped us to come closer to the people and win their trust and confidence.
There is the need for assistance. By the time we have good information, it's as good that we are going to overcome our problem.
They, however, appeal for more support, emphasizing that security is everybody's business. In Kano, Yohannes Hasambaro, NTA News.
OPEC Secretary General Mohamed Sanusi Barkindo says that the global economy forecasts prospects a 4.4% growth in 2021, noting that the recent development of the COVID-19 vaccine have injected optimism into the economy and the oil market. The OPEC Secretary General said this at the 47th meeting of the Joint Technical Committee held virtually and is in advance of the 25th meeting of the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee, as well as the 13th OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meeting scheduled for Monday, January 4, 2021. While reflecting on the proactive and decisive decisions taken by the Declaration of Cooperation countries in April, June, September and December 2020, Barkindo opined that the JTC meeting, by appreciating the tireless efforts of committee members throughout the COVID-19 crisis, one of the most volatile periods in the oil industry's history. He says collectively, and I quote, "We have delivered an unprecedented response to an unparalleled market shock and continued to lead the industry on the road to recovery," unquote. The Secretary General underscores the necessity of continuing to work together under the framework of the landmark document for the benefit of producers, consumers, and world economy at large. Aviation, the pride of the air transportation, as a facilitator of the flow of investment, goods and passengers across cities, nations, and the world, was threatened in 2020. Now, the sector slumped into its worst era with huge losses occasioned by a COVID-19 pandemic, the full extent of which the International Air Transport Association, IATA, says may never be known. Aviation correspondent Emmanuel Aimiro, in reviewing the sector in 2020, reports that the outlook of aviation in 2021 is still uncertain, with deep industry losses likely to continue.
The airspace is opened again for people and goods to crisscross the globe after the total halt for months due to COVID-19. At the beginning of 2020, the only concern of air travelers in Nigeria was perhaps the usual disruption of flight activities during hazy weather conditions, leading to delays, cancellations, or rescheduling. But then, COVID-19 proved to be more than weather disruptions, and for 6 months, the skies were deserted. Jobs were cut by airline operators to reduce costs. Other services across the aviation chain, like hotel and tourism, car hire and bureau de change, went on compulsory break.
this is the worst hit in the aviation industry ever. We've had similar cases, but not like this. And we pray we don't have this experience ever again.
But then, aviation again became the only fastest means for transporting medical protective items to various parts of the globe, with Nigeria also getting her share through donations from foreign countries, agencies and individuals.
Our collaboration with the government, and we also have, as you know, established a basket fund, and part of that will also be commodities. So yes, we expect more support from the United Nations.
How battered was the industry, particularly when airline operators had to carry out routine checks even when the aircraft were parked without them making profits?
At one time, our revenue was down to about 3%, and if FAN had 3%, I believe almost all the other aspects of the industry, handling, airlines, and others are also experiencing similar low percentages.
While passengers are still in the euphoria of air travel, which started again after the lockdown, suddenly a spike in airfares has caused the excitement to cease.
Going at the rate of 109,000 for business class, simply because there is no space for economy.
Despite the difficulty in 2020, the Southeast geopolitical zone had risen to celebrate as the rehabilitation of Akano Ibiam International Airport Enugu runway was completed and reopened.
I never believed that what we are seeing today would happen and happen with such rapidity.
We are proud to say that this project is indeed a testimony to Mr. President's commitment to the provision of infrastructure in the country.
The aviation industry is still nursing the injuries from the lockdown and also concerned about the uncertainty in 2021. One thing is, however certain, the aviation history books will not forget 2020. Emmanuel Ayemiru, NTA News.
And in other stories, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Issa Pantami, has directed immediate suspension of some staff allegedly involved in extortion of applicants at the Bauchi and Kaduna State offices of the National Identity Management Commission, NIMSI. The minister, in a statement, restates his zero tolerance for extortion, bribery, and corruption, and notes that such unethical practices, if allowed to fester, has the potential of derailing the SIM-NIM integration project. Enrollment for the National Identification Number NIN is free of charge, and on no account should anyone pay to obtain an enrollment form or to have their biometrics captured. The statement concludes. And the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says the present administration has so far given a good account of itself as a corrupt-free government which has abolished grand corruption at the top. This, according to Garba Shehu, in an article, has been attested to by world leaders, including the outgoing American President Donald Trump, who commended President Buhari for significantly bringing down the level of corruption in the country. He says it is to the credit of President Muhammadu Buhari that Nigeria has today given the world its best performing stock market and as the #1 country in Africa in the IMF 2020 Economic Outlooks rating of countries, and that's in spite of the negative impact of COVID-19. Garba Shehu also lists the successes recorded in the fight against insurgency and increased procurement of military aircraft, weapons, equipment, and ammunition as some of the landmark achievements of the present administration. He therefore dismisses the insinuation of misrule by the opposition People's Democratic Party, pointing out the long years of decay left behind by the party. Garba Shehu describes as shameful and disgraceful claims made by the opposition People's Democratic Party that Nigerians are dissatisfied with the present administration and wish for the return to the years of locusts. He says the Buhari-led administration is fighting for the happiness of the majority of Nigerians, rebuilding a battered the economy, putting in place long-delayed infrastructure and managing a novel coronavirus pandemic in a very competent and impressive manner as to earn the commendation of the World Health Organization, WHO. PDP in 16 years, he explains, broke the economy by killing industrialization, manufacturing competitiveness, and in the whole gave the nation a lost half generation. And the FRSC Co-Marshal, Dr. Boboyo Yemi, has identified 3 major traffic offences which his personnel must enforce, of which motorists must also guard against in the new year. In a statement, the Co-Marshal Boboyo Yemi says the call after the traffic offences review of crashes and fatality rates recorded during the Christmas and New Year operational activities by the Corps, he identified speeding, overloading and non-adherence to COVID-19 protocols, both in vehicle and at the parks, are the 3 major offences. He further explained that the identified offences would form part of the core areas that the FRSA patrol teams will beam their operational searchlights in the new year. He urged members of the public that the FRSA will remain vigilant on the nation's highways as travellers are returning to their homes after the Christmas and New Year celebrations in various places, urging every motorist to show consideration for one another while using the road. All right, let's stop for a while and look at sports update.